Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Keggernaut, but just call me Keg, and welcome to another video. Today is going to be my patch 7.2.5 wish list for the Brewmaster Monk. I did this for patch 7.15, and seeing that we're going to be getting a lot of new changes, we already have a lot of them up on the PTR, I kind of wanted to let my voice be heard to see what you guys think about my proposed changes. Now, this doesn't really concern a lot of balancing aspects, although some of them do, so don't worry about that, but I kind of want to see these changes be implemented, and we can see maybe it resonates with some of you guys, and you can help to get some of these changes up on the PTR, or at least to let the developers know where some of our heads are at concerning how our Brewmaster spec plays. So let's just go into the changes now and let's get underway. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to get into is the artifact traits. Now, this isn't really the biggest thing, but I kind of wanted to bring up one or two of them, and maybe we could possibly offer some changes. So the first one that I want to talk about is obviously staggering around. We know that this has been the worst trait out of the entire tier, not the tier, well, the entire tree, in terms of survivability. It only really affects magic damage because we're already at a stagger cap when we're activating Fortifying Brew, and we're already very, very powerful even without that stagger cap. So, what we can do is there's three options that I have come up with. So the first one being that we just leave the trait alone. That is a viable option for Blizzard to go for because they have nerfed the stagger benefits from using Fortifying Brew on the PTR. They nerfed it by 10%. So what this trait can serve as is a way to counteract that nerf. Now, it's not exciting. I don't want to see that happen, but it is an option. Not the best, but it is an option. So my second proposed change, which I believe should be the way to go and would be very, very beneficial, is that this trait is scrapped entirely and it's replaced with a new one. It could keep the staggering around name if it wants, whatever, but it's going to read something like Purifying Brew will clear off 6% more stagger. So that's using this current value. With an extra rank, it'll be 8%, and with each relic, it'll increase by another 2%. So this gives some more value to Purifying Brew. This doesn't make us overly broken because we're only clearing off 50% as it is. We can add another 6 to 8% or even more if we want to go with a Purifying Brew playstyle and work with our defensives that way. I think that would be the best way to go about it because we certainly don't really have anything Purifying Brew related outside of Quick Sip. So I would like to see something with staggering around change to Purifying Brew. Another way that we can go about this is to just have Iron Skin Brew give us more magical resistance for our stagger. So currently it's only 50% effective versus magic damage without Mystic Vitality talented into. So what this can do is now we're going to get an extra 8%. So with 4 ranks, we'll have an extra 8%, making it so it's 58% as effective. So I don't know if it's the opposite, if it's 58% or if it would be 42%. But let's just go with 58. That sounds to be the better one. So it's 58% as effective versus magic. This gives us a little bit more of an increase, just baseline to our power versus magic, and doesn't necessarily force us into using Mystic Vitality, because yes, Mystic Vitality would be the best option for magic, but if you want to counteract some big hit with Dampen Harm, or you just want a little bit more sustain through healing elixirs, you have that option. So it won't make or break the game. I think that the magic or the Purifying Brew would be the way to go. I wouldn't like to see it sit, but it's fine. So that's kind of my proposed changes for the artifact tree. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to be opening up is going to be the talents. Now, there's not too many things that I'm worried about the talent tier, but there are a couple changes that I could see. So, Chi Burst, this first row here, row 15, is good. Row 30 is good. Row 45, now, Black Ox Brew obviously is a very great talent. We have the energy regen and we have the brew regen that we get from Black Ox Brew. It also adds a little bit layer of complexity because you have to manage this cooldown. So, this is a nice talent. I like this talent. However, the other two are very lacking in terms of performance. So Gift of the Mist offers a way to have a little bit more sustain out in the world, doing like normal heroic dungeons, very easy stuff. If you don't want to care, if your brews don't give you enough defensive value, then the healing from Gift of the Mist can be better. So Light Brewing offers a more passive playstyle for your brews where you get 1 extra charge and 3-second reduced cooldown. Currently, Light Brewing versus Black Ox Brew, when brews are actually very valuable, it's just not, there's no contest. Black Ox Brew is the winner. So what I'd like to see is for Light Brewing to further reduce the brew cooldowns by maybe 5 seconds or even more, depending on how they see for the balancing, but 5 seconds, and then add an extra charge. So give everybody 5 charges of brews with a reduced cooldown by 5 seconds. This could open up a little bit more playstyle. Probably won't beat out Black Ox Brew, but probably won't be too much of a difference. What we can do as well is, since Black Ox Brew obviously gives us an energy refill, then light brewing can possibly even increase our energy regen by, you know, X amount. I don't know what is a good option. Maybe like 1 energy per second, or I don't know how the interactions with haste work, because this could bring down haste even more if we go with light brewing. However, that's just kind of my proposed changes. Obviously, like I said, not too in-depth. So row 60, I'd still like to see Summon Black Ox Statue just be baseline. Like, I don't know why they pruned it away and made it a talent, but, you know, you guys already know my thoughts on that. I'd like to have this back. Row 75 seems to be a very good tier. Row 90, Special Delivery. I was going to propose this change, but they beat me to it. On the PTR, Special Delivery has a 100% chance to proc, and they reduce the damage to compensate. I like this a lot. However, there is one tiny tweak that I could ask for just to completely polish it off and be a cherry on the cake. So what I'd like to see is that Special Delivery, when you throw your keg up in the air, instead of it picking some random target, because I've been on Mythic Spellblade where I'm tanking the boss, Spellblade Allurial, and then my kegs go off and reach into the Fell Soul ad, the ad that we don't need to kill. It's completely wasted DPS. I don't need that. Sometimes on Botanist, where I'm tanking the bosses, I want my Special Delivery to proc on the boss. But if I'm too close to the ads, the little plant ads that spawn, sometimes my keg will go over to the plants. Now, yes, that's not the worst DPS. You obviously want to get those guys down, but I want my DPS to be focused on the boss. So what I'd like to see is not a change, is a change where Special Delivery does not target an enemy. It just goes either straight up into the air and comes back down in the same spot. So nothing moves. Wherever it procced, it's going to land. Or we can have it where if it's already tracking enemies, have it track ourselves. So we throw it up in the air, and then no matter where we run to, it's going to hit the ground exactly where we are after 3 seconds. So obviously this is probably going to be a little bit broken, just because it's guaranteed damage, where Special Delivery, if it just goes up and then back down exactly where it procced, then that can give a little bit more skill as to when you want to move the boss. But none of this like crazy, it's going to go on whoever it wants. So that's the only change I'd like to see for Special Delivery. Nizao could be buffed a little bit, maybe do some more damage, maybe have a smaller cooldown, but nothing too crazy. This guy is just going to stay here. And then row 100, obviously Blackout Combo is a very good trait. I mean, talent, also High Tolerance is good, but Blizzard has already talked about Elusive Dance and High Tolerance being buffed. So let's just go ahead and sit with where they are now, and see what Blizzard does about it. High Tolerance can get an increase to stagger, maybe 15% increase on stagger, so that would counteract the Iron Skin Brew nerf, so that could be good. And then Elusive Dance possibly could just get a duration increase. Honestly, it's not too bad how it is now. Maybe a Purifying Brew increase as well, but I'd like to see as a duration increase, maybe up to 8 or 10 seconds, because purifying so much, so like very constantly to try and get and maintain this buff is quite hectic. I'd like to see just it be a little bit more passive, where it's going to have a bigger increase to our dodge and our DPS. It's just, I think that would be the way to go. Okay, so the next point that I'm going to be bringing up is going to be the Legendaries. So Blizzard has done a very good job of balancing all of these Legendaries, in fact, and I actually really praised them for the changes that they did to Fundamental Observation. However, my issue with Fundamental Observation is not with the legendary itself, but with the content surrounding the general use of this legendary. So currently there's not many instances where this is actually like a really good one to equip and to use. So yeah, you might be able to stop some more damage on a really heavy pull in a Mythic Plus dungeon. That's great. However, you're sacrificing damage for that. If you are channeling this and you run out of Iron Skin Brew because you didn't have enough stashed up before, well, then you're kind of out of luck because you're losing a lot of stagger. So, you know, I currently would not be really advising this in Mythic Plus dungeons outside of Tyrannical Week, and then you only equip this for the dungeon boss that really hurts, and then that's it. In Nighthold currently, there's really only one good boss to get a lot of value out of this, and that's on Spellblade. When she's channeling her Annihilation, then this is a great legendary to have, because that stuff hurts a lot. No matter what sort of difficulty you're doing, you know, heroic, normal, or mythic, you can get a lot of use out of this legendary during that channel. But there's not many fights that this has a lot of use on, so I'd like to see some more fights implemented in Tomb of Sargeras where we need a good cooldown, like Fundamental Observation with the cooldown reduction on Zenmed. So the next one that I want to talk about is Gaiplin Soothing Sash. So Gaiplin is currently a pretty decent legendary. It's got a lot of more attention recently because of the tanking artifact challenge. So what I'd like to see is this change could be where we increase the amount of healing received by maybe an extra 10%. So we have a 35% increased heal, 35% heal off of our purified damage. Now, this can be implemented or it doesn't have to be, because like I had mentioned before with the artifact traits, if staggering around gets changed to do something with purifying brew, then more purifying equals more heals. Also, if elusive dance gets buffed, because they talked about it getting buffed, if it gets buffed to where we actually want to equip it and use it in more instances, whether it be dungeons or raids, then purifying more means more heals. So indirectly, this legendary can get buffed with just those small changes outside of changing the legendary itself. So that's not bad. However, my biggest point of contention is with the Firestone Walkers. The Firestone Walkers are, in my opinion, the absolute worst legendary that we have. I believe that the crafted boots are better than the Firestone Walkers because right now, they basically serve as a glorified stat stick because the equip is simply not good enough. We rarely use Fortifying Brew, and I'm going to say it out loud. At least I do, and I know a lot of other people do too, is that we just barely use Fortifying Brew. It's such a heavy cooldown, and especially in raids, where you only get maybe one use out of Fortifying Brew, and even if you use it at the beginning of the fight, maybe you can get a second one, but then you'd have to use Fortifying Brew just to get that cooldown reduction, trying to squeeze in an extra one. If you wait till midway in the fight when things are getting bad and you want to use that to help your healers, or finally something big is coming up in phase 3 where you need that Fortifying Brew cooldown, well, then you can only get one use out of it. And then with the legendary boots, you might be able to squeeze in an extra if you use it a little bit earlier, like even more so than if you didn't have these. However, again, you maybe get only one use out of these, even with the legendary equipped. In dungeons, it's a little bit different, but I myself, I either go through a dungeon with using either 0 or 1 Fortifying Brews. So I don't know. I think that the best way to change this legendary up, and I wholeheartedly believe this is the absolute best change, would be to not only have it reduce the cooldown of Fortifying Brew, but also have it reduce the cooldown of Exploding Keg. I know, right? Exploding Keg. So this would add both an offensive and defensive value. Everybody knows Exploding Keg does a ton of damage, especially in dungeons. So this is a very, very dungeon-oriented legendary already, and now even more so with the Exploding Keg benefit. So that's great. I already like the damage bonus from that. But then it also serves with a defensive value. So if people are more concerned with defensives and trying to survive big pulls, well, then you can get more value because you're going to be using this more often. So I wholeheartedly believe that this is the best change, and this is the only change that I would really like to see implemented in 7.2. If they go around and balance any of the legendaries, I want them to change Firestone Walkers in the way that I had mentioned before. Okay, so the last bit here is going to be in some of the abilities. So not many of the abilities, just in particular just one, which is Blackout Strike. So currently there is a huge problem apparently at Blizzard where they think that there's a small little gap in between our ability usage where we just don't do anything. And that is when we have to wait for both Blackout Strike and Keg Smash to come off cooldown at the same time. Now, I will admit there is a little bit of a delay sometimes, and I do notice it. However, I've never complained about it. I really honestly haven't. Sometimes I might wish, oh, I'd like to have pressed an ability, but honestly, it's not that big of a deal. And I run 9% haste. A lot of other people run faster, more haste, so their rotation is faster. So I currently believe that the amount of changes that they're making with, you know, Blackout Strike having a 14-second cooldown, or Blackout Strike having a 12-second cooldown, or all these extra different changes that they're doing with other talents, rushing Jadewind having a longer duration, I currently don't think any of that is necessary. I think the only change that we need is to have Blackout Strike be a 3-second cooldown as it is right now. However, not modified by haste, because currently it is modified by haste. That's why, as you can see here, I have a 2.75 second cooldown. This is probably where that gap lies, is that small little change from increasing that to only 3 seconds baseline. So if you have 5,000% haste versus 10% haste, it's still going to be a 3-second cooldown. Now, I believe that's the best way to go about it, because that'll make it so you can Blackout Strike, and then this, and then Blackout Strike. So you have 2 filler abilities. I believe that's the best way to go about it. I don't know if that's the best change, because they honestly could think of something different. But in my mind, I think that is the best change. That gives us 2 abilities to use. So the legendary chest is very nice, and then also it can push in more use with Rushing Jadewind to try and fill out your rotation a little bit more. So I currently think that's the best. Alright guys, that's going to be it from me today. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Please leave a like and comment down below about what you guys thought. Please subscribe for further content. And also don't forget to follow on Twitch, twitch.tv/Keggernaut. I live stream a few days a week, so you guys can go ahead and catch me live. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching for the last time, and I'll see you guys in the next one.